Okay, now we're going to look at the differential backup, and in the other video we looked at the incremental backup and how that worked, and now we'll look at the differential. I guess the biggest difference and the easiest way to remember the difference or the real world difference in forgetting all of the bits and bytes and flags and different things like that. An incremental backup is going to only back up what has changed today. So let's say you have 5 backups and you're doing each one of them as an incremental. The data that you want, the data that you're looking for, the file, for example, that you need to restore may not be in the first one, the second one, the third one, or the fourth one. It may be in the fifth one. The problem that some people see with the incremental backups is the fact that you may have to go hunt and peck to find the information that you want, or you may have to restore a complete, you may have to restore a full backup, and then you may have to restore 3, 4, 5, 6 incremental backups or more to get all of your data back. Whereas a differential backup is going to back up everything that has changed since your last full backup, or at least everything that has changed since the last time that archive flag was reset. The benefit to that is that you can do, if you needed to restore all of your data, then you could restore your full backup and then your last differential backup, and then you're going to be up to date. You don't have to take those intermediate steps to restore each one of the incremental backups. You do your full backup restore, then your differential restore, and you're right back where you want it to be. That's assuming that that's where you want it to be. There are, again, with all of the different options that you've got in backing up data, there are pros and cons to each set. Certainly one of the obvious disadvantages to doing a differential backup is that, let's say you do a full backup Sunday night. Monday you do a differential, Tuesday you do a differential, Wednesday, etc. Thursday's differential is going to have the same data plus that Monday's had. In other words, the differential that you do Thursday night is going to include all of the data that was in Mondays, all of the data that was in Tuesdays, all of the data that was in Wednesdays, plus whatever changed on Thursday. The benefit to that is obviously you don't have to go back and restore each one of the incrementals. The downside is it can certainly eat up a lot of storage space. That may not be a problem. If you've got a 2 terabyte hard drive or larger, storage space may not be an issue. Who cares? Use all you want. It's relatively cheap. But if you're in a situation where your backup media is at a premium, say you're backing up to CDs or DVDs or something, that increase in storage every day can be quite costly. So again, it's not any one. There is no one best way. It's what's going to fit your needs, what's going to fit your environment best, and using the information that is in here and other places. I would encourage you to not just simply take my word for any of this, but look at other places that have information on backing up and the different policies and procedures. And we're only going to scratch the surface here. But knowing these differences and looking at the pros and cons of each will let you come up with a pretty decent backup plan for your specific situation, and you'll know what to do in each case. We'll move right along into the differential backup. Again, we've got our data folder here that we're backing up. If you watched the other videos, I had a new text document. I removed that. We're going to select everything there, and oh man, what do you know? We ran into that gotcha. The client here thinks that everything has been backed up. In other words, I can't select any of these files. Even though I went through and deleted the stuff, the client thinks that I've backed these guys up and won't let me select them. Let's see what we can do. Okay, like you can see, I can't pick anything. Let's click over to the settings, and this is where the problem lies. My backup mode is in incremental. I forgot to reset that. Now let's see if I select it to differential, what happens. Oh, same thing. I can't select it because it's already been backed up. Now what we need to do in a case like this is to go back in and to do a full backup. Now you can see that everything is going to be selected. So our first backup, and again, where we wipe the slate clean from other videos, we're going to do a full backup, and we're going to do that on Monday. That's going to be our full backup day is Monday, and that may or may not work for you, but I'm going to go ahead and do a backup, and that shouldn't take but just a minute. Okay, that completed, and we go look at this is where our folder of our backup destination was. So this is our backup. This is our backup file, essentially the zip file, if you will, and that was backed up, and you can see, we'll see here, it's done Monday. You can see here in the blue address bar, and I just went and changed that you can see that this is Monday's backup. Now let's go back over, and we're going to simulate it being Tuesday. We're going to point our backup to back up to the Tuesday folder, and now we're going to we're going to work on differentials. Now what should happen here? If we look at what the differential backups, the definition of the differential backup, it says it's backed up selected files that have changed or new. I'll add that in there. And then it does not mark them as backed up. Okay, so we don't have anything in there. If we do a backup, again, we've got Tuesdays, it's set to do differential. Again, we're in a pin mode up here. We do a backup, nothing should change. We should not have nothing changed, so we shouldn't have anything in our backup set. And we can go in and look. Again, the gotcha, you've got to close the client and reopen the client in order for that to refresh the backup sets, or the backup guys here. Yep, and you can see there, the ones we did Monday and the one we did for Tuesday. We can see in Monday that all of the data is backed up. Everything was done. That was a full backup. Again, full backup doesn't care what the archive flag says. And then we look at the one we ran for Tuesday, and there's nothing there. Again, it only backed up things that had changed or were new. That's the definition of the differential backup. Now let's go back out to our data folder, and we will recreate the infamous new text document. And we'll again put in some additionally random text. Save that guy, and let's go back out to our backup client. Look in our data folder, and right there is our new text document. Let's do another backup. We'll do this for Tuesday again. Go ahead and click go. And now what should it do? Well, let's look again at the definition of the differential backup. It backs up selected files that have changed or new, and in our case the new text document was new, so it should have backed it up, and it does not mark them as backed up, so we should still have that archive flag sitting on our new text document. So let's go check that first, and we can see here, looking at our new text document, where'd he go since I rearranged it? Yep, it did not change that flag. Okay, we go back over, I'll close the client and reopen it so that it reloads the backup. Here we go, restore. Okay, we see our second one that we did, our second differential, and we can see that our text document was there. Okay, let's take this one step further. I went out and I created a new folder in my set called Wednesday. And let's now go in and add a new text document. We won't keep the 2, or maybe we will keep the 2. We'll call that new text document 2. And we'll put in some random stuff. We'll save it. Okay. Go back out to our backup client. We'll look at our data folder. Refresh the view. There comes new text document 2. Now you can see here that the definition of the differential is that it does not reset that archive flag. So looking at, we're going to be working with Wednesday's backup. We're going to assume today's Wednesday. And we can see that there are 2 files that are going to be backed up. the one I made before, the new text document, and the new text document 2. If you'll remember, in the incremental, this guy was marked as backed up, so that file was not selected on the subsequent backups. So we'll go ahead and click backup now, and that finishes it. We'll close the client, open it back up. We'll go to the Restore tab, we'll look at the jobs. Find the one for Wednesday. That's the one that we just did for Wednesday. We look down here in our data folder, and sure enough, we've got the new text document and the new text document 2. If we jump back up to the one we did on Tuesday, okay, we did 2 on Tuesday, one with that text document and one without, we can see that the text document is there. So now what I could do if I needed to restore my data, unlike the incrementals, I would not have to go restore each individual one. I could just come to my last backup set. Remember, we saw before that the last backup didn't have any changes. If I don't change anything, let's do that real quick. I'll go back out. Let's make a Thursday file. Now we're going to back up to Thursday. We still have our data folder selected. Today's Thursday. These guys have been backed up. This one's been backed up twice. This one's been backed up once already. We'll click on the backup to back up for Thursday. Okay, everything is done. We'll go back out, come back in. I hope they fix that in future releases. We'll go to the Restore tab, Disk. We'll look at the last one we did. This one was in Thursday. Now, what we simulated was not having anything change from Wednesday to Thursday. I took the day off to play golf or whatever. So nothing changed in our actual files, nothing changed. But when we ran the backup, our two files, our two simulated, or our two text files, were still backed up. So these guys are getting backed up every time it runs, again, because it's a differential backup, and it's not clearing that flag. So every time the backup job runs, it looks at that flag and it says, oh, that file needs to be backed up, so it's backed up. That's essentially the gist of how those two work and the two big differences between differential and incremental. Both of them have their pros and cons. The differential is going to take up more disk space or more storage space. The incremental is going to take up far less disk space, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult to restore. That may not be a problem, and I'm not arguing for or against either one. Your situation will dictate what needs to be done. The difference may be that you don't, it's not a big deal. You can go, sometimes you're not going to restore everything. Sometimes you're not going to go back and put everything back. Sometimes it may be that you need to replace one single file that was backed up yesterday, and you want it to be simpler to look through, so an incremental is going to be the way to go. So don't get stuck into, well, I heard that differential was best, or I heard that incremental was, whatever. Don't get stuck into that thinking the way someone else has told you to think. Look at how they work and decide for yourself on what's best in your situation. That's going to wrap those guys up, the difference between the incrementals and differentials. If you have any questions, give us a yell. More than happy to help. And we'll see you.